What's up, YouTube? We're here answering your questions that you guys submitted last week. I'm here with Nyko Turmel. He's going to present himself, and after that, we're going to jump into the questions.
Hey, what's up, guys? So my name is Nyko. I'm from Montreal, Canada. I've been a bodybuilder myself for many years, competed lots of times, and I'm a lifestyle coach and prep coach as well. So like Justin said, today we're going to be answering your questions.
Also, there's going to be questions in Q&A that has been submitted to us in French, so we're also going to cover those. And so there's going to be some different types of questions that we're be getting. So it's going to be a bilingual Q&A, and we're going to be answering all your questions. Donc, pour vous remettre dans le contexte de ce que j'ai dit en anglais, toutes les questions que vous avez envoyées en français vont aussi être répondues dans le Q&A d'aujourd'hui. Donc, ça va être un Q&A bilingue. Honestly, the only thing that I would say that works if you experience high in prolactin when you're using nandrolone derivatives would be to use cabergoline. It's probably the only one that I've had experience with. I don't know about you, but that actually works. That's kind of what has been the go-to for.
Yeah, I think using those family of steroids, I think like no matter what, estrogen will rise, prolactin will rise eventually. I think keeping an eye on this as well with lab works is going to be really useful. I like to use Nolvadex as a first introduction first, so like the estrogen doesn't binds to the receptor. Sometimes it does work, and Caber is not like it's not necessary because Caber is kind of it can be really harmful. So I would try with Nolvadex first, but I would say 90% of people on those products will eventually need cabergoline, of course.
I've also had, I don't know if you've used this before, but P5P also has been something that I've used. It's a natural product. It's obviously a lot milder, but for certain people, it doesn't affect them as much. It would probably something that I would add in so that sometimes you can mitigate these kinds of drugs that are a little harder. Like you said, like using Nolvadex could be a way to not put a harsher drug in. So sometimes there's like interaction with certain hormones that you can try to prevent that are maybe a little bit safer, so that you can prevent going that route.
Yeah, I do agree on this. P5P, I do agree on this. Everything is, yep, absolutely. That would be a way to go, of course. You go first, like a couple.
yeah. We'll see if it matches. Yeah. I think I met you first time was at Pro Gym, probably. The old Pro Gym back in Australia. I think that's where I met you. I don't know if we've had like long conversations at that point, but I knew who you were at that point. I think I knew about you when you did that show in Fitlog.
Yeah, absolutely. At this time, like we were actually like close from the same size. As you can see, things have changed. So, I was, I think, 2019, like 4 years ago. Weren't friends yet, but eventually that eat up a little bit more.
Yeah. Having a structure, like having something that, like a lot of people will kind of just wing the post-show because it's like that period where they think they're just as anabolic as ever. But the most important part, and I've done both, like I've had experiences for myself, and I've seen it with clients a ton of times. When I've done the whole like exploding after a show, and I've had the other way around, and I could say like just on how I felt and how much progress I made after. Just having a structure that is already established once you get off stage is going to be the best way to really adhere to what you need to be doing. So just going back to a structure, not going off because your show's over, basically. So the after prep is probably like more important than the actual prep itself, and it's a lot harder also to endure because you don't have an immediate goal,
Yeah, I do. I have to agree on this. Like, especially in my last show, that was the first time. Like the show I did a couple months ago, that was my hardest post show after. I really didn't really notice how hard it was, but I can remember every time like I done post show, I just went all in food, and I had a structure, but I wasn't following it, right? So this time was the first time I was really reversing properly, and that's what I think make it really, really harder from the last ones. And like that's what he said, like keeping the structure really tight. That is the way to go. But I think I really like when people can enjoy food at least more than once a week post show, like for a mental state, because like when you do preps and stuff, I think you push your body and your mind really, really hard. And I think like there's a kind of balance you need to have in between that. So I think having a structure, but enjoying yourself a little bit as well, so you don't get into like a depression mode, right? So I think it's a balance in between, but discipline is what's going to keep you there. And it's weird to say, but man, need to grow some balls and do it, right? Even if there's no like deadlines or end line at the end. Like reversing has been a way better. I've progressed way better on the reverse diet than just went all in food and try to push the more weight as possible. And like it was water weight, like health wise, the blood pressure was so bad. So all the bad stuff was coming in. I think, yeah, it is reversing and keeping a structure, but having a balance with enjoying like social life a little bit more with friends and family is the way to go. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that's a very good point. What he brought up is that time where you're in prep, I think the people that are closest to you are probably the ones that are suffering the most. So like having that time off also with them to take time, you've seen also with your girlfriend, is like taking that time to really like sit down, enjoy a meal, enjoy some time also, because you hadn't had as much time to do it during prep. I think that's super important just for your mental health as well, like especially if you want to do this for a long time. You need to have that balance at some point. It's not a balanced sport. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it is, but it is a good way to kind of give it a meaning also for the people that are around you.
Yep. Actually, yep. Health-wise, mental health is the main thing here. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, we can do that for sure. Yeah. We can do that. Like, I think, in your case, I think it took a little bit because you got sick and everything. So, like you probably wasn't the best time to do it, but I think now that you're back, you're like,
absolutely.
It could be a good idea that we could shoot
we should ask which muscle, right?
Yeah, like if you guys in the comments, if you wanna like comment what you think, would you like to see, shoot it up and we'll see what we can do with that. Yeah.
You mean hormone wise?
Yeah,
probably. Let's go. I can sum.
Yeah,
this.
Go ahead.
Yes, it's absolutely possible, but one thing you have to be concerned of is like human machines. It's like every time you go that path, like everything you come off and go back on, I think like this machine's going to be used a little bit more, so it's going to take a longer process to get back to your natural levels each time you do get back on. So, and the longer you are on, the longer off it will take for you to get back to a baseline. So I think like getting your lab works before even starting to see where your body natural state is, it's really, really important. And each time like going off, like take a lab work to see like how long does it take to get back to normal. But yes, it does get back to normal. It's going to be harder and harder as the time goes by, but it surely does. But in another way, it can not come back as well. So I've seen that couple of times as well. It's more on the rare side of things, but it does happen. Like even I know a guy that only one cycle and then poof, never came back. So yeah, it's possible, but most of the time people will come back like with a couple of weeks, couple of months.
Yeah. The bottom line is that it's very individual and there's a genetic component to that. So how you're going to rebound of your cycles is going to be I've seen people done a ton of cycles, they come off and nothing happens, they're just good, and some people, like you said, they'll do their first cycle and then they're as soon as you go into that route, it is a risk. So you're taking that risk to go into it. After that, you can try to like come back to your levels if that's what you want to do. But again, like it's a risk. So I mean, it could take you a long time to come back. It could never come back. It's a risk, like I said. But yes, obviously, if the more cycles you do, the more you're putting yourself at risk to not have the levels that you used to have. Because there is one thing about getting back to a certain level, but to have back what you used to have, that's also
another point. Yeah, that's why the baseline is really important. And as he said, the genetic aspect of this is like each individual is going to be different from it, each of them. So that's the thing you need to watch, be careful of.
Yep.
That's really case dependent. OK.
It's also very...
Attends, la question est en français, on va la recommencer. Ouais, la question est en français, on pose là.
Yeah, tu gardes ce bout.
Ouais, c'est ça. C'est un blooper, ça. C'est un blooper avec ça. T'enregistrais ce que je viens de dire là aussi. C'est encore drôle. Ben, honnêtement, la même chose qu'un homme, pratiquement. Je vais juste, moi, rajouter la progestérone que je vais regarder. C'est un petit peu dur ici de travailler au niveau hormonal avec les femmes parce qu'il n'y a pas vraiment de docteurs ici qui sont vraiment à l'aise de regarder des bilans hormonaux pour les filles. Fait que c'est un peu difficile. Fait qu'on est tout le temps obligé d'un peu de fonctionner autour du système un peu, là. Fait que c'est un peu plus difficile de ce côté-là, mais je pense que le bilan hormonal au niveau de la femme, il va vraiment fluctuer, c'est sûr, dans le contexte, là. Fait que quelqu'un qui va être en préparation de concours, ben clairement, les hormones vont être affectées. Puis le but, puis ça fait partie du processus, on s'entend, là, ça fait partie de la game, puis le but, ça va être juste de rétablir un niveau normal, dans le fond, dans les semaines ou les mois qui suivent. Puis souvent, ça va être affecté simplement par au niveau alimentaire. Là. Ça va être tout simplement les restrictions caloriques là, qui vont faire en sorte que les hormones vont aller plus vers le downside. Mais c'est un peu touchy ici là, au Québec là, de travailler au niveau hormonal avec les femmes parce qu'on n'a pas vraiment le support des médecins. Il faut vraiment travailler un tour avec qu'est-ce qu'on a comme ressources.
Ouais, les femmes, puis genre, je mettrais les hommes aussi là-dedans. Là. C'est sûr que c'est un petit peu plus connu là, chez les hommes, mais les femmes, c'est sûr que c'est vraiment difficile. Puis c'est sûr qu'il ne faut pas s'attendre à des levels, si tu veux, normal, si tu veux, si on est en préparation de concours. Là. Donc, comme il dit, c'est vraiment à la suite d'un concours, c'est là, ça va être dans les mois qui suivent que ça va être là de rétablir des niveaux normaux. Mais c'est vrai que c'est plus difficile d'aller chercher de l'information qu'on a besoin, dans le fond, avec les médecins là, ici au Québec. Ça, c'est très difficile. Là.
Exact.
Ça dépend c'est quoi les attentes avec le collagène. C'est sûr que je pense que c'est un bon supplément à impliquer, sauf que si c'est limité en qu'est-ce que ça peut faire. Donc, est-ce que tu veux juste améliorer un petit peu la qualité de ta peau, de tes ongles, de tes... OK, peut-être, là, mais si on parle de, je sais pas si tu as des blessures ou des choses comme ça, puis tu penses que c'est ça qui va t'aider à guérir, ben là, c'est sûr que c'est pas nécessairement... Il va te prendre quelque chose d'un petit peu plus fort pour pouvoir t'aider là-dedans. Là. Donc, c'est juste de savoir c'est quoi tes attentes par rapport à ça. Fait que non, c'est pas overrated si t'as pas des autres attentes, mais si tu t'attends à quelque chose de miraculeux, c'est sûr que oui, c'est overrated de ce côté-là.
Ouais, je suis d'accord. Je pense qu'après, le collagène, c'est une super bonne protéine. Je pense que, dans le fond, si on s'attend en supplémentation au niveau cosmétique, je pense que ça va être pratique. Il vaut peut-être des ongles, la qualité de la peau, tout ça, peut-être au niveau même de la chevelure, ça peut être pratique. Mais si on s'attend à ce que, dans le fond, on puisse guérir une blessure au niveau fonctionnel, là, des muscles, tout ça, je pense que de ce côté-là, ça va pas faire un impact qui va être drastique. Là. Ça peut être intéressant, mais c'est pas assez. Il faut que tes attentes soient réalistes envers ça. Fait que je pense qu'au niveau cosmétique, c'est plus important qu'au niveau, mettons, fonctionnel du gym. Performance-wise or gain-wise or like muscle-wise, on peut...
Let's say if we elaborate in terms of muscle building, let's say.
Yeah, let's do it that way.
Let's go in that. Let's say. So if you get to a point where this is obviously in a scenario where everything is controlled, right? Your training's optimal, your sleep's optimal, your food is on point. If you're using PEDs, that's another story. But all the variables are controlled. Then that's when you can say, okay, this is actually a plateau where I'm not progressing as much as I should. There's also another component that I didn't mention. Digestion is also a big issue also sometimes. If any of those variables are not optimal, then those would be the first thing to look into. So let's say if we're looking at someone who has everything checked out, but let's say his digestion isn't as good as it was before, well, maybe backing off the diet a little bit in terms of like the amount of food he's eating, or her, it doesn't matter. So having different things that are gonna change a little bit what you're doing. So if it's in the training, then changing the training can also be something that could help. Also, the food sources that you use could be another indication also of having something that's a little bit more monotone that you need to change. So having change basically is something that would be optimal, but I think this is where a coach comes into play. I think there's something that of a coach that has knowledge that you might not have access to. That's where the value comes in, I think, when you're hitting a certain point. Because look, when you're starting to train, everyone can make gains. Like you'll just start training, you'll start eating properly, and you're going to start building muscle. But when you get to a certain point where you're at a certain level, I think that's where the value of a coach really comes in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's our job. That's our job. Like getting structure in, like for beginners or intermediate level, yeah, of course. But for performance wise, like more advanced athletes, that's the goal. That's to break plateaus every time. So actually a good coach will have the resource to help the people when this does happen. I have the tendency to say, like especially like in the last couple months and things, I've tried other stuff, and I have to say, when plateau occurs, I think performance wise, I need the guy, the person needs to be stronger. That's what I tend to think. Like performance needs to go up. Like he needs to build strength a little bit more. So I figured out cutting the volume a lot of times.
Yep.
It makes the people progress. So that's the thing a lot of people do. Like they see like, okay, like everything I hit the plateau. What do? I'll add volume. I'll add food. I'll add training days. And most of the time this brings actually regression.
Yep.
Like, because the more advanced you are, I think, like this is another debate, but I think the more advanced you are, the easier it is for you to target the muscle, right? To train it.
Yep.
And I think like most of the time people keep on adding volume, and this has tendency to like disturb you on your strength, right? If you do more sets, you train more often, then your strength is gonna hit a certain plateau. And I think by taking off a little bit like of volume and just like getting back to like 4 days a week and training like strength wise and building up this, then try to add back a little bit more volume after time, it's going to make you break plateaus. Like because I think strength and muscle does correlate together. Like you need to be at a certain point where you need to be bigger, you're going to need to be stronger at a certain point. You cannot like bench 2 plates on each side for like 30 years and keep on building muscle. This is not going to happen. So this is, I think it's an option. And as he said, digestion needs to be on point, sleep needs to be on point, all your environment needs to be on point. Look at the stress factors as well. Like what's your social life right now? What's your job? Is like your wife, like all the relationship around you, is it like optimal? But yeah, I think for the gym as well as this, and yeah, I think that's a way to go.
I agree. And I've actually done this before, where you get to a point where, like I said, the volume gets to a point where there's no point in just adding more, but just reducing the volume and actually getting stronger. When you go back to that volume, you're going to be able to do the same exercise you were doing before, but with a lot more weight. So you're putting more stress on the muscle, not more stress in terms of volume, but in terms of actual muscle damage, right? Exactly. And also something that I've actually done recently, because I saw that my appetite wasn't as good as it was before, and that I took a few days off. You know, those are things that sometimes your body's telling you something. I know that for certain people, it's hard to see the difference. Am I lazy, or do I actually need it? But I think for someone who is advanced, you start to learn these kinds of things. Like, okay, now I think I need to back off. My performance is not as good as it was, or it's not progressing. And just taking those 3 days off, I went back in the gym and I was stronger than ever before. So those are things that I think bodybuilding, when we're saying bodybuilding, I just say like muscle building is not linear. So it's a very up and down thing. And if you're thinking, okay, I'm just going to go and push and redline it all the time, I think that's when you run into problems, you know? So having that maturity to kind of step back sometimes and kind of look at the bigger picture, I think is a good way to assess things.
Yeah, I think when you don't have a coach, that's the hardest part, right? Because you straight from the back, you always go like, oh man, am I getting lazy? Am I like, oh, I'm used to training like an hour, 45 minutes, 6 days a week or 5 days a week. If you don't accomplish this, you're gonna be like, oh man, I failed. But like you said, if you look at the big picture of this and you just pull back up and you say, oh man, I'm seeing something different, right? I'm getting stronger if I take a day off from of my week. Like, let's say I train 4 days a week instead of 5 or 6. These things, and when you go to the gym, actually, you can see like performance going up. If you only go to the gym to show up and your training is always the same, and like performance-wise, then that's where I think you're gonna hit a plateau, and you just need to a little bit like do a little step back, and then just build strength and just adding back volume, like you said.
And I think that makes the difference when you see crazy transformations from one to another in a year. I think that's where the progression is. That's where the blueprint is, because it's not, if you're just looking, okay, every week, like, what do I look like? That, I think that's when you get lost a little bit on. And look, I've been a kind of like, I've done it, so I know what it is, so I understand. But I've done those back off things that I implicated on now. And now when I look back at the pictures, let's say from last year or the year before, that's where I see, okay, this is the progression I actually made. So this is the important part. Like, what are you on long term? How much progress are you making? Not just every week.
Yeah, it's a constant study, actually. Yep. You'd be learning, like, some stuff maybe work in a period of your life and then it's going to change. But like, yeah, it's a constant study. You need to be aware of all those things. Yep. I'll go first. I think squat variation needs to be in place. Doesn't need to be a barbell squat for sure. So axe squat is a very good option. There's the pendulum squat as well. There is other squats variation, but split squat, very good. People don't like it, but they're good. Yeah. So yeah, I think can you build legs without squatting? Yeah, absolutely. Leg press and leg extensions gonna build your legs, but is it an optimal way to go? No, it's not. Actually, I would rather do a squat variation and a leg extension than doing a leg press. I think leg press is the exercise you don't really actually need. I think the squat pattern with a leg extension where you get the contracted part of the muscle, that's where I think you can, two exercise for your quads is way enough. You can get fried on this and build on it. Yep.
Yeah, I think I get these kinds of questions also because people see that I squat a lot on barbells, but I don't actually believe that the barbell squat is necessarily like a staple, but I do think that a squat is necessary in terms of the overall leg development, because if you look at a squat movement and the mechanics, you're getting activation in your glute, you're getting activation in your hamstring, you're getting activation in your quads, also abductors. So all these things are variables that make it so that you're developing the muscle over also a period of time, and strength, because you're building strength on the compound. Yep. That I think is essential to building solid legs. I'm not saying, like I said, I'm not saying back squat is necessary, especially when you get to a point where the strength component is higher, because I think the risk for injury is also higher when you start doing. Look, I know that everyone sees these guys like James Hollingshead, who's squatting 8 plates, aside, and he's doing it like it's butter. But I mean, that's a freak, Those are very far.
They're like 1%.
Yeah, 1%. Because most people would really like hurt themselves doing these kinds of things. So, and I've seen it before. I've backed off squatting a lot too sometimes but I do enjoy doing it, and that's kind of the only reason why I do it, because. Other than that, I just feel that at a certain point, and I know how I am, I'll just start diminishing the amount of progress that I'll be making for the risk of injury. So I prefer sometimes to back it off, because I know myself and I know I'm going to try to push my limits. So I rather push my limits on something that's a little bit safer, and that is ultimately probably going to give me a lot more benefits in terms of muscle growth as well.
And you need to be aware as well of like your form when you're doing it. Maybe the barbell squat is not a good exercise for you as well. Some people will do a lot of hip extension on those movements, and they'll squat from their glutes, right? Squat from your ass. So it's going to bring like a lot of like, let's say, back injuries and stuff like that. So maybe the doing it from the axe squat is maybe better in terms of form, like building up quads and stuff like that for you. So yeah, like you said, you can get injured, and the squat movement is actually the most complex movement in all movements we're doing, right? So it's not a beginner movement. Like people I can see, like they go like 2-3 places on the squat and the form is really, really bad. You need to learn like to squat. Actually, I think it's the most complicated movement ever.
Yeah,
It is.
that and deadlifts for sure.
Yeah.
And I would say that for the most part, people won't benefit from doing it. And I'm gonna say also, like, and this again is a benefit of having a coach in your corner, is identifying what your mechanics are able to do and how your insertions are, because I think that makes a difference between people that are going to progress with their bodies also, because there's no one that's going to tell me that every movement is for everyone.
There's actually
like there's going to be certain movements that I'll feel a lot more than he's going to feel a lot less, and vice versa. So you have to adapt things to how your progression is going to be as optimal. I think that's where a coach comes in, because he's going to be able to identify those things by looking at your mechanics, looking how your insertions are, and actually picking the exercise that are going to work more for you.
I would say it depends on the muscle group. I believe some muscles needs more volume than others. Some muscles are bigger, right? And I think genetic wise as well, some people will benefit from a smaller amount of volume, and other will need more. I think from 8 to 20 sets probably per week, if this is a good range. I would say some people will do 8 or 9 sets of bicep. It's going to be fine. Maybe bigger muscles like legs and back will actually need more. Why? Because there's more muscle in this muscle group. But I would say quads, like I would say maybe like from 8 to 12 working sets. Okay, we're not calculating the warm-ups in here, so it all depends what the intensity you put in, right? Because actually its volume is like a very, very small indicator. It's gonna all be intensity. I know people that actually grows with, let's say, 6 working sets only for quads a week, but what kind of intensity, what your training looks like, and how close from failure or way above you're going. So this is really important, because volume can easily be junk volume, and I've seen that many times. So this is the main factor, I think. So I would say a range from like 8 sets to 20 depending on the muscle.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also depends on what your goals are. I mean, there's certain people that are going to try to bring up certain body parts, so you're going to need a little bit more volume in that sense. But again, I'm very a proponent of intensity. So I don't think one should take out some intensity to put in more volume. I don't believe that. And also, you have to take in component the size of the muscle in terms of how much recuperation is going to take during the week. So obviously, if you have a bigger muscle, it's going to take a lot more time, especially if you're taxing it at 100%. It's going to take a lot more time to recover than if you have a bicep. So a bicep, you can train it a lot in terms of like frequency. You can do it a lot more often than if you were talking about a muscle group like legs. That's going to take a lot more time to recover. So you have to take that into consideration also. So if you put a lot of volume into one workout, then you're not going to be able to do legs very soon. It's going to take a lot of time for you to recover from that workout. So that's how you should split your things, is that depending on the amount of volume that you're putting in and the amounts of intensity you're putting into a certain workout, that will also depend on the frequency also that you're going to be able to hit it. So it like I said, like arms is something that I like to implicate actually in other muscle groups, because I can do it more often, you know? So, and also it's also a thing that, you know, building arms is not something that like we're like, I gotta have too big of arms, you know, like you can always have bigger arms. So I think that's something that you want to, I'll sprinkle in here and there, but I won't do a ton of volume. I'll just do it a lot more frequently.
Depends which one.
Yeah.
I think some side effects are permanently.
Especially for women.
Yeah, especially for women. Women, it's a one way back. It's like you're not coming back from it. So I would say for women, be really, really careful about like the PEDs you take, like from the source. Okay, source is going to be the biggest dependent here. Like what you're actually taking, is it what's actually in it? So that's the first part. And then I think like being really careful with the dosage as well, like starting with a low progression, like at the minimal possible, and be really, really aware about the side effects you're actually getting. So you get, because there's no coming back from it. So for women, you got to be really, really careful. And for men, I would say, for hormonal side, like women's, it's gonna be fine. Like they can get back for normal, but like physique wise, like from the parts, you know, the sexual parts and stuff like that, it's not gonna come back. The facial hair as well, it's gonna be there permanently, as well as for the men's, right? So as you can see, I have PED's effects right here. I have no more hair, so they're not gonna grow back. So this is one thing. So this is one of the physical part, but hormonally, yeah, everything should in base come back. But as we said before, some people will be permanently like affected by this, and they will probably need a TRT base for like the rest of their life.
Yeah, it always comes down also to what we were saying about the test levels, but it's a risk. Like I said, like it's
always a risk.
It's always going to be a risk. No matter who you are, it's always going to be a risk. And especially for women, I think it's something that I would say, do your research. Like I know a lot of girls that are starting off, especially in this sport, that are very naive about the things. And it's not just to throw rocks, but I think that a lot of coaches are very liberal with how much PEDs they give. And I think that most people that are very excited into doing shows, getting on stages, that don't look at the bigger picture in terms of what the long-term effect will be. Because you don't know, first of all, you don't even know if you're going to like doing what you're doing.
In like 10 years.
Exactly.
That's
you know, like
something you like right now is maybe not something you'll enjoy 5 years from now. So yeah. Really, really think about it. Like it's like all these consequences, they're gonna stay there forever.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're like 20-ish years old and you're making those choices, be sure that you're gonna be like assuming those consequences for the rest of your life.
Because I see a ton of, I don't put the men as in the same category because I think it's a lot more.
It's fine.
Yeah, you can come back a lot more from those kind of things, but the side effects that you're going to get from PEDs for women, I see a lot of women that are jumping into their first show, never competed before, and they're already on a ton of drugs, which will affect them permanently, and they don't even know if they're going to even like doing it. So, yeah, just guys, like, honestly, it doesn't matter if your coach tells you what to do. Like, this is something that I've actually encouraged my own athletes to do. Like, I'm telling you, this is something that I suggest, but I would even suggest you to even read up on it, to know a little bit what's happening. What are you putting in your body, you know? So, and it's just a good thing to be safe and to be like also conscious of what you're doing. After that, it becomes your decision. If that's where you want to go, then, you know, have at it. But to be conscious of what you're doing, I think is the most important part. Well, again, like, this is something that if we're talking a lot about PEDs, but PEDs is something that does cause these kinds of side effects for sure. Not necessarily for everyone, not necessarily for the severity for everyone is not the same either. But I think it's something, again, it's a risk that can also affect you. And to be able to be conscious also to look in your blood work and seeing, because those are sometimes things that are signs that your body is not healthy. So again, like I said, it's very individual, but I think it's a good way to look at it is to make sure that everything is okay in that point. And some people are going to be more sensible to it also. And it doesn't just affect PEDs. I mean, some people are just prone to having acne.
Exactly.
After that, you know, it's doing the necessary steps to, you know, to able to prevent that or to, you know, come back from it. After that, it's, you know, look at having your like either a family doctor or something that can look into it. I'm not going to pretend like I'm a medical professional, you know, but there is little tricks that you can use with natural supplements. But again, like medical advice would be the best way to go.
Yeah, I think like acne can come up from a lot of things. Like it can be toxicity from the organs, right? So you don't need to be on PEDs to have toxicity into liver or stuff like that. So getting the blood work is going to tell you like if your liver is like stressed or stuff like that. So this can be a cause. If we bad food can actually give you acne as well. Like eating junk food can give you acne. From the PEDs, like drugs can give you acne. Hormone size of it, like if your hormones are really debalanced, it's going to give you acne. High estrogen, low estrogen, both can give you acne. That's another thing. And sometimes something we don't think about, and it's really genetic, like genetically wise. Some people tend to have like a oily skin from the drug. Yeah, like some people who does have acne has mostly like oily skin, and drugs can just accentuate this a little bit more. So maybe like have how do you say this in English? Like skin doctor, epiderm doctor, or something. I don't know how to say it in English, but yeah, getting followed by someone that is a really specialist in this. But I should say there's toxicity, bad food, hormones. There's a lot of way that acne can come up actually.
Yeah, because it's a way for your body to excrete toxins, right? Yeah. So your skin is a way, like urine's a way, like all these things are ways that your body excretes toxins. So sometimes when you get like oily skin or you get acne, you have breakouts, usually that's
there's something happening.
There's something happening. There's something that's unhealthy. So to having those toxins, it's your body like just trying to get rid of it, is for sure a sign to look into it and really try to fix the problem. No.
Actually, it can be first on the natural side of things.
But even in the natural side.
But not competitive bodybuilding, actually.
No, that's what I meant, yeah. No,
like
for sure.
Normal bodybuilding, of course. Eating like 3-4 meals a day, you can actually build quite amount of good muscle. Genetically wise, you're going to be like hitting like a plateau really, really fast in your life. I think I've read up on this. In a lifetime for men's, I think 20 to 25 pounds of muscle is about what you're going to gain in a life total. And a lot of those men are actually reaching those 25 pounds in the first 10 years of training. So actually after 10 years, people have tendency to just maintain. Actually, they're not progressing anymore on the natural side of things, right? Yeah. Because that's what we're talking, right? We're talking about LT wise. So LT is natural for sure, because actually if there's PEDs, you're cutting your life expectancy at a minimum. That's for sure. That's not a point. That's the point here. That's a fact. There's nothing to talk more about this. So yeah, I think there's a way to do it. Of course, pushing food is not healthy as well, but you can still build muscle with like 3-4 meals a day with a quite amount of like moderate food. So it's going to be a non-competitive bodybuilding purpose. But as soon as you're getting into like competing with being the best in your country or stuff like that, this is health-wise, it's going to take a hit.
Yeah, I think that's where the caveat is. I think when you get into competitive bodybuilding, that's where it becomes unhealthy. And look, I'm even going to look into other sports. I mean, I do think that if you're looking into other sports, if it's MMA, hockey, football, I think anything that's a very competitive or a professional sport, you get into something that is going to be a little bit unhealthy, whether if it's injury, concussions, all these things. So there's going to be a risk to it. And this is where I'm not even going for the PED route. I'm just talking about even natural bodybuilding, just being at that low body fat, crashing your hormones, because your hormones are going to be crashed if you get really, really lean. Pushing the food also is something that's going to be
unhealthy,
hindering your health also, and doing that fluctuation in weight. So going from a high body weight to, let's say, stage ready, this, that. So having those fluctuations is going to be unhealthy as well. And being in that range where your hormones are crashed for a long period of time is going to affect you negatively for sure. So I think, like he said, I think if you do it for a hobby, you like the lifestyle, then that can become healthy for sure. The problem, but I think where it gets unhealthy is when you get into the competitive side. Whether if it's natural or enhanced, I think obviously enhanced, there's a lot more health risks, but I still think that there's a lot of health risk also when you get into natural. But if you want to do it as a hobby, go ahead, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's like the main factor actually. I think the lower the body fat, the lower the libido for sure. Everybody who experienced this, like at least once, did a bodybuilding show or just a really, really hard cut, as we can say, where you're trimming down body fat, yeah, for sure, the hormone size of it's going to go down. Even if you're taking like any like PEDs or stuff like that to boost your testosterone, it's still going to go down. I think food is the main driver of libido. And like I said, if you experience it in a contest prep, you can see it. You can be on tons of PEDs. If you're not eating, you're not going to have any libido. That's the fact. And I think even if you go on the other side of things, if you eat like a lot of food and a lot of bad food and stuff like that, I think it can go either way. Like it can crush your libido as well if you're eating a lot of bad food and stuff like that. But yeah, I think food is the main driver of the libido. If everything is fine, with the person's hormone at the base originally. Like if there's something is not working well at the beginning, for sure it needs to be addressed. But if everything is fine, food is going to be the main driver.
Yeah, I think the two extremes are going to affect the libido for sure. So if you're very, very fat, well, obviously your hormones are not going to be optimal as well. So you're going to be having some issues. I'm not saying it's going to be exactly at the same extent, but I think you're going to be having some issues hormonally, which will affect also your libido. When you get into a super low body fat, now I'm taking when we're going on the unhealthy side of being so lean, that's also something that's going to be affecting your libido for sure. So anytime where you have a fluctuation that is extreme, I think that's where you run into problems. If we're talking about libido or we're talking about other things, other health complications, all the extreme is where you're going to be running into problems. When you're in the middle, you're going to be fine. You should have optimal levels of hormones. So you should have, all your sex drive should be all good. And all your aspects of your life should be in a balance also.
Dangerous, I would say no, but is it a good thing? I would say no. It needs to come back like in a preference for sure.
Yeah.
So like in prep, yes, it will happen eventually for sure. Again, it's because of the food. Exactly. So hormone sides of things are going down for sure by trimming down the food, stuff like that. So you need to have this like in concern of course, but is it dangerous in a side? No, actually not. It's not going to be dangerous, but the longer your period is down or it's not occurring, the most permanent you're going to be of not being coming back. So no, so that's the thing. It's the same for men as well. So yes, it will happen. Some people can how do you say attack?
I've seen people go through a prep and it hasn't affected them. But,
it does.
In most cases, it does. Yes.
It does. Yeah. So dangerous, I would say no, but you eventually you'll make sure that it does come back.
Yeah, I think the biggest risk in terms of losing your period is kind of like having regular periods afterwards. So I think what I've seen a lot is that it's harder to have something that's more steady once you've done a few preps. I think that's where it's going to start to fluctuate. I think it'll still come back normal if you stop doing preps. I think eventually your body will kind of adapt, but if you keep doing preps back to back, I think that will irregulate a little bit how your periods are. So that's something to look into. But look, when you get into a place where your body fat is so low, your like everything that's not essential, your body gets rid of, or not get rid of, but will start to put aside. So reproductive systems are going down. So when we were talking about libido, same thing. Like you're not in a reproductive state. Your body's just trying to survive, right? So all these things are going a little bit on the other side. So it's normal to lose your period in that time. But yes, it is an important part to look into it once your prep is done, to try to get back those hormone levels so that you're able to have a healthy state, which, again, like having your period is a way to eliminate all these toxins and this and that. So to not have that happen anymore, it is something that's going to be important to get back once your prep is done.
But from the feminine side of things, having your period is the healthy state.
Yep.
Not having the period is the non-healthy state.
Yep.
And it's something you would try to avoid as much as possible. And like you said, the longer you do it, the more often it's going to be irregular after, and that's where like some people have some issues down the road. So doing shows back and forth like this is something for women you will need to try. Some people can't avoid it if you're a professional and you're doing show all the time. That's part of your job. But getting a longer break, like diet breaks and in between shows, is something for women would be way more optimal than just upping on like two, 3 shows and just being there for being there, right? Competing for competing.
I think it's more common also for women to just do show after show, because I think I'm not going to say that there's no improvement, but the leap of improvement is not as high as, let's say, for men, let's say. So I think in general, I know that I'm generalizing, but I think for men, a lot of them will take that time off to kind of rebuild a physique that's going to be more competitive and then get back on stage. In terms of like for the women's side, I think it's more common to kind of go back to back to back show after show. So I think that length of period where you're not in optimal state is where I would say is not the best way to approach it. Yeah. But I see it often. That's why it's a good question to.
It's a really good question
to get into,
because it does happen like all the time.
Yeah.
Both are good, actually. It depends on what your goals are, actually, and how often can you train as well. Push-pull legs will give you more muscles, like more muscle groups in the same training. So if you're someone that has to be training, I would say 3 days a week, I think push-pull legs is the way to go, actually, because it will regroup all your muscle in a bro split, we call it. It's you can't hit all the muscles in 3 days. Yeah. And some people have tendency as well as, like, if you do too much volume by a certain group in one workout, it's not going to be optimal for a certain person. And some people will have to have more frequency in their training, like different muscles. So yeah, I think both have their own abilities to be like good. I personally like both equally. I use both equally as well. I will just switch from back and forth to each other. And I think there's no scientific way to say, oh, this one is better than the other. I think both are equal. It depends on which one do you actually like to do as well. Like adherence, like if you think it's better but you don't like it, like performance-wise, it will affect and it will show in the gym, and that will just impact it negatively. So I think both for me are good to goes.
Yep. I've done push-pull legs, I think, for the longest time in like the whole bodybuilding journey that I've done. I think I've done push-pull leg for the longest. I think where the bro split gets more specific, I think, is when, let's say, you have certain muscle groups that you want to try to bring up. Yeah. Because I think in an overall building a physique to a foundation, I think push-pull leg is the best, because you're actually hitting every muscle group to a higher frequency. If let's say you only train 3 days a week, that's good. But even if you train 6 days a week, you can do it twice. So you're putting more frequency, less volume in one session, let's say for legs or whatever, and then you just hit it again 4 days later, right? Yeah. So there's more potential, I think, to build a foundation when you're using push-pull legs. But I think the bro split is a good way to kind of go. Yeah,
like arms, you can do it. You can do like push-pull legs. Let's be honest. For arms, it's bad, right?
No, it's not the best.
For someone who tries to bring arms, it's going to be a bad split, right? But like, if you want to do bro split, you can hit arms on your chest day, arm on your back day, and then have a full day of arms after. Yeah. But you can do that as well on push-pull legs. There's a lot of people do push-pull legs and arms. Right? Yeah, that's you can add it to workout. But I did bro split way longer. He did push-pull legs. I did bro split longer, and I've switched to push-pull legs, and I do like it way better. I do like it way better. I think it's a more balanced way to do things and to hit the muscle more frequently, and especially when you're more advanced, you can fry the muscle faster. Yeah. Now we're more advanced. We train for a longer period of time. So when we hit that muscle, it's going to take less volume to be fried. Actually, I can hit a muscle for 30 minutes and I can barely move it after. So when I was younger, it wasn't happening. So I needed more volume. But now volume needs to come up. It comes down since the intensity is higher, right? So, and we have better, like, mind muscle connection, if you want to call it that way. I hate this word, but like the intensity is better. So I think hitting it like 3 days after is better than just adding like 2-3 exercise after already 3, then you just can't feel it anymore. I don't know if it does happen. Like you just let's do like one more, and then you do one more, and you're like, man, I can't feel shit. It's like it's just like junk volume. It gets there really fast. And push pull legs, it doesn't allow you to do junk volume, because like you do push, you have like chest, shoulders, tricep. It's like, man, if you do junk volume with 3 muscle group, you'll be there forever.
You're gonna be there
yeah. Like Justin is there forever. Justin trains for 3 hours. Nobody can do that.
Yeah, but honestly, I think for the because I think some people ask me, for legs, what I've done and whatever. I think the push pull leg was kind of the reason why I got my legs so big, because I was hitting them more often, not as necessarily in terms of volume more, but just the intensity was always there, and I was hitting them often. I was training the legs like at least 2 to 3 times a week, so that's how I got them so big. After that, now I switched to a bro split, because I just do them once every
4 or 5 days.
Yeah, like 5 days. Like that's kind of where I go, because that's not something I'm trying to bring up, but I think the foundation of them for sure was built on push pull leg for sure. Should we split it every day? Like, let's say if you have...
Look, the more frequent, the better. Let's do this. If you want to shoot it every day, it's the way to go, for sure. Every product, it's going to be like this. Every molecule, every BD, you're going to be taking. The more frequently you're going to be taking it, the more stable your level is going to be. So, absolutely, every day is the way to go. Every 3 days I think is not really optimal. I think every other day is a bare minimum for every ester. Even indentate or stuff like that. Every 2 days, every other day is the way I do it, and the way I make it do it for my clients as well.
Yeah, I'm a huge proponent of that also. The more frequency, the less volume of product shot, I think is like the way to go. Any product you take, even if it's a long ester, I would split it. And yeah, just split it up. It's less volume into a certain muscle also. So you have more potential, I feel, to absorb it than just putting a ton of oil into a certain area. And I think it's just better for hormone levels. I think it's more stable. I think there's more benefits to it. And
people just get tired about getting shots.
I think that's what the annoying part is. Yeah,
that's the thing. That's the part. But
if you don't care about pinning, I think
it's the way to do it. And like you have to be like aware about the half-life of the products, right? You need to understand that, even if like you say, okay, every 3 days, but you have to understand that like you're going to get a peak the first day, and then from that point, it's going to be going down. So let's say you do every 3 days, it's going to go like this. And if you do every other day, it's going to go like this. And if you go every day, it's going to go like this. So the more like this you are, and the better you're going to feel, and the less peak of estrogen as well you're going to get from the testosterone, because the more milligrams you take, the more estrogen you're going to take. More testosterone, more estrogen, right? So the more estrogen you take, the more you'll make, the more AIs you're going to probably need to take, and AIs are not really healthy as well. So AIs are really like, you want to take the less as possible. So if you don't want to take AIs, taking shots more frequently is going to help you on this side of things as well.
That's a really good point. Like if you're able to reduce side effects by shooting more often, then that should be enough for you to say, okay, maybe it's worth having that shot every day instead of splitting it to a longer period. So just in that component alone, I think is making the argument for itself.
Yeah, and I did lab works on this, and I've tried it like from many ways. I did TRT, like a TRT based on like once every week. I would say like a 200 milligram shot in a week, and I split it every 3 days and then every day. And I did lab works like each time. Yeah. And like, it's funny because if you do the shot, like let's say the once a week shot, like the 200 milligrams, you can see on the lab work, I was way above like the physiological side. I was like way up. Why? Because I probably did the blood test, like let's say the day after or something like that. So I was like, let's say 38, and like levels are like from 10 to 30. So the doctor would probably say, hey man, you're way too high. You need to go the dosage down. And then I did it every other day, and my levels were like 18. It was like a big difference. So it's like, it does make a difference, and I do like tell the people to do, at least my clients, every other day. Every other day is at least the minimum. Thoughts on insulin first cycle? No, just No.
No, I think
Don't do it.
I think the least amount of first of all, insulin shouldn't be touched unless you've kind of dabbled into other things. I think there's levels to this, and I think to a certain degree, tests should be your, let's say, your go-to. After that, if you want to add some little stuff here and there, fine. But I think insulin should be like last on your list. There's a lot of potential to grow on other things before you get into that side of things. And it's honestly, it's not even that necessary also. I know a ton of guys that have awesome physique that never take it.
Never use it.
So yeah, honestly, I don't think it's something that's necessary. Does it help? Yeah, I'm not going to sit here like it doesn't, but I don't think that it's a staple that should be implicated in, or
Especially not on the first show.
even thought of on a first cycle, not at all,
No, I think he's right on this. I think insulin is a tool, but I think it's not a necessary tool. I think every bodybuilder can be a pro bodybuilder without insulin. It does help. There's another fact as well. There's the health side of things as well. If your glucose tends to be really, really high, you can use insulin to put your blood sugar down.
Yeah.
That's the way some people use it, and that's a really good way to go. But honestly, you can probably just fix that by just reducing your carbs. Like that's the thing. Maybe you don't actually need as much carbs actually. So there's the L side of things as well. Insulin is a good thing. Like when you creep up, like especially in the off season, like your pancreas is going to be working a lot more. So insulin will help at this point. But like, let's say for the anabolism side of things, like on the first show, really not. Like no, just like train for at least 5 years in the tank with other drugs and stuff like that in place before thinking about taking it. Does it work? Like you said, it does work, but I think it does work more on certain people than others. I think some people really respond well to it, and some people don't. Actually, just does nothing. I figured out. I've tried it with some of my clients, and it's honestly, it's like, man, it doesn't make any difference. It's like it's just not working, and some people, they just will literally explode.
Yeah,
like it's a game changer. So again, I don't know how you can explain this actually, because when you look into blood works, it's like, man, like, okay, everything's in place, blood sugar is regulated, so he does produce insulin as well. So why does exogenous insulin helps him as much as this? I don't really understand this part of things, but definitely not. Don't use it. At least you're doing like national level, like, and you're competing to get like a top 3 or pro card or stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think there's also a level in terms of size in which you gained also on your own without using it that makes a difference. And when we're talking about plateaus, I think that's kind of what we're also talking about, is that if you are at a point where everything's on point and you've done a lot of cycles in between, and then you're at a point where you grew a lot, you've done this for years, and then you want to see if you can dabble into it, you know what, like, yeah, sure, it could help.
And there's still a chance it doesn't do shit.
It could do, but like I said, like that's the genetic part of it. There's certain compounds that I don't even respond to, even in terms of like just PED. So it's the same thing with insulin. It's very individual, and you have to know a little bit what works. But yeah,
and it's dangerous.
Sure. It is.
Let's talk about it. It is dangerous.
Yeah,
it's a dangerous drug, and if you don't know what you're doing, actually, like, you're not gonna die, maybe, but you need to be really super. But you could, but you need. It's like, make sure you really know like what you're doing and what your advice are from your coach or stuff like that. If you're doing this by your own because you're reading Google, like, don't do that. Like,
the craziest thing is that it is one of the things where you can buy over the counter.
Yeah.
In the pharmacy.
Yeah.
And it's probably the thing that.
No, here it does, but people listening in the U.S., insulin is one of the hardest drugs to get.
Yeah, but here in Canada, you can actually go without a prescription to a pharmacy, ask for a vial of it,
and they'll give it to you.
Yeah, and no questions asked, pretty much. And it's crazy, because there's certain drugs that you can take, and like insulin, like you could overdose on insulin and actually die. So it's scary to the point where that's the one that you could actually get over the counter, but a test bottle in terms of pharmaceuticals is very hard to get, you know? So,
one of the most dangerous drugs in the bodybuilding, especially with diuretics.
Yeah.
Even like both used together, it's a crazy thing. So, really be really aware of what it actually does and what it implements. So being like supervised by someone that actually knows what he's doing is actually a must when you do this kind of drugs.
Having a doctor in your corner is like, if you're going into like competitive bodybuilding, having someone that knows how to read your blood work and this and that, you know, it's not just something that's good, it's essential. You need someone that's going to be there in your corner to able to advise you on these kinds of things. All right, guys, so this was the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Go like, subscribe, and write in the comment what you guys would want to see next time. So we had questions on training that could be something that could be important. So go write your comments, and we'll see what we can shoot next time. More content, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, guys, really appreciate being here with Justin today. So, like he said, share, like, and subscribe. And like, if you have any other questions, have a good day, guys.